Everybody here should get on their feet and give this guy a standing ovation, and they are. Look at this. On one leg, he's got a flat tire, and he is appreciated by what he has done. I mean, here's a guy that...
This is the Detroit mentality. I mean, there's a guy sitting to my right, Ben Wallace, who helped them win a championship. He has that type of mentality. Plays hurt, does all the little plays. And I'm sure Ben can appreciate what he has seen in Blake these last two ball games. They might not have translated to wins, but in the big picture, the Detroit faithful here, they'll look back on what he has done these last two ball games, the play in these games.
And that was Blake Griffin going out to a standing ovation last night as the Pistons ended their 2018-2019 campaign. Welcome into the show. It's April 23rd, 2019. Views from the sideline. I'm a third of your hosts, Chris Pappas, Joey Tysick, Malik Hill. What's up, guys?
I'm so happy this is finally over.
Oh, stop it.
I'm so
stop
happy
it.
we don't have to talk.
Just get us to the off
Oh,
season.
man. Then now we can watch some real good basketball, man.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm so happy. We got the Spurs Nuggets. Such a good... It's so refreshing now.
Side note, was Reggie trying to do like a John Madden impersonation? Now here's a guy. Like, what? I don't know many people that talk like that. Anyway.
But yeah, so Pistons got swept last night, lost 127-104 to Milwaukee. They were up for most of that game and had double-digit leads in that game as well. They lost every game except for Game 3 by 20+. Yeah, it was just a terrible matchup. Giannis was a monster. The officiating last night was subject at best. I will say that.
You mean suspect?
Yes, that's what I meant.
They are the second team to lose all 4 games by 15+. And I believe that's the worst scoring margin in a series since 2010 when the Orlando Magic beat up on the Hawks, I believe.
Yeah.
So good stuff, setting records. Also, Pistons have lost 14 straight playoff games, which is an NBA
Round
record.
of applause. That deserves a standing ovation just as much as Blake.
That's 3.5 sweeps, boys.
Hey, Malik.
Detroit as a sports town.
Shut up! That's a lot of brooms.
For the win. Oh, so many brooms.
That's a lot of brooms.
Detroit is...
Are you guys just trying to throw daggers in my heart right now?
Dude, it sucks for us, too.
I'm trying to throw daggers in every...
We're here, too.
Part of this organization because they deserve it.
Our eyes are just a little more opened than yours.
Tom Gores.
Whoa.
100%. That is 100%. Thank you, Joey.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm just sorry, man.
Just because I root
how it's
for
got to
them
be
doesn't mean I don't understand. I understand what they should do, but I know that's not going to happen. But I still root for them.
I can't. This is a type of team. They're impossible to root for to me.
Why are they
root for Blake?
Blake
because the team is a joke. The organization is a joke. Tom Gores is a joke.
I like that.
None of it can be taken seriously. None of it.
I mean, we'll get into it more when we break down the Pistons season, what to look forward to in the offseason. I think they're going to make a big push for Drew Holiday. I think that's going to be the guy that Gores in the front office circle on.
He's going to keep Reggie and Andre.
Well, I think Reggie go. I think they're going to have Drew as...
I would hope so.
So they're going to... So what you're saying is they're actually going to make a trade that does something.
We'll see.
Is that what you're saying?
Well,
they're going to make a move
I'll tell you
that
how,
impacts the team.
I'll tell you how I think it...
That's a big jump.
You're talking about a move that makes the team better?
Yes.
Wow.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait.
Anyway.
That'd be phenomenal.
But yeah, so the Pistons got swept. Blake, he got the recognition he deserved when he checked out last night with about 6 minutes to go in the game. He fouled out. He gave this team all he had. He probably should not have played in the first round. He played in Game 3 and Game 4, averaging 24, 6, and 7 in those 2 games on one leg, limping significantly in both games. He put the team on his back. You know, yes, this team was a disaster, but Blake is the best star that they've had in a long time, and he has that worker-type mentality that this city appreciates. And if he was 2 years younger, the buzz about this team would be a lot different. It's sad that they're done and they didn't win a game, but I mean, we all expected it. Nobody expected a win. You expected a win?
No.
Oh.
The
way you were looking, I was like,
no, I was puzzled look, They had a chance at a lottery pick for a while, and then they decided, okay, we're gonna play good. We're gonna make the playoffs. All right, fine. I'll take it. We're gonna get a decent matchup, maybe against the Raptors. Sixers probably would have been tough. But okay, we'll take it. And then they go on another losing streak just at the end of the season, so they get to play the Bucks. The worst possible matchup that we talked about all year.
The losing streak was partly because Blake got hurt and he couldn't play.
No excuses.
Blake had the highest usage rate in the NBA.
They were in a lot of games. I pointed it out a couple times. Blake was okay in the OKC game. He scored 45 and they still lost. They don't have a second player. So even if Blake is healthy, I don't know if it matters.
That Charlotte game, to me, showed...
They lost meaningful games.
That game showed what that team really was.
Yeah,
Without Blake Griffin, that's pretty much the team.
They had no pride in that game.
And the Thon Maker trade I thought was really good at first. Kind of went downhill. He could not score a basket in the playoffs whatsoever unless it was a layup or a dunk. He could not hit a three to save his life.
I didn't see him hit it. Did he shoot more?
I don't think he made a three.
I was about to say, did he shoot 0% from three?
He may have shot 0%. Yeah, I don't remember him making one. They left him open at a point. I was like, all right, shoot it.
Why didn't they play Kyrie Thomas? What, like, I really don't
went with guys
understand.
he trusted.
Like, at the end of the game, was the point? At the end of the game, you put him in and he looks active and he looks like he could do something to somewhat spark something.
Who are you going to take the minutes away from?
Langston.
Luke?
Wayne Ellington.
You're not going to take it from Wayne. He's literally only your true small forward outside of Glenn Robinson who cannot play NBA minutes.
At this point, at that point, it really didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
You could have played Kyrie Thomas that whole second half.
Well,
I don't think Langston Galloway needs to play as much as he does. I think Dwayne Casey has given him too big of a leash.
Yeah.
And a lot of times,
when his shot is off, he's almost useless as a basketball player.
I think when you are losing games by 30 in the playoffs, it's time to get some young guys some experience. You're not going to come out of the series with a win. And I think we need to look at developing our younger guys. That's what sort of we brought Dwayne Casey in for. Now, again, I've said it before, I think he was a little bit pressured to get wins because he is coming off of Coach of the Year. However, he's also known for just developing young talent, and I think that's more of why I was excited for him to come in. And we didn't really see that entirely. We saw a little bit here and there with Luke getting some help.
Luke definitely took a step at the end from the trade deadline to the end of the season. He started the playoffs, 21 points in his first playoff game. Luke showed a lot of signs that, as a Pistons fan, I'm excited for next season. Bruce Brown, defensively, has shown a lot of signs.
Right now, it looks like he can't hit a jumper.
I'm not as worried about that. We've seen
his energy
players
is cool, but he needs more to make a real impact.
Okay, but we've seen players develop a jump shot in their career, but we've also seen players never develop that mentality that Bruce has to want to play defense, to want to just leave it all on the court. I like what we saw from Bruce Brown this year. I like what we saw from Kyrie Thomas, even though we didn't get to see very much. The young players look solid, but is it enough to push the needle in the right direction? Maybe not. Game 4, I did like Reggie Jackson. I think that was the best game we've seen from Reggie in a long time.
Yeah.
That is the proper response.
Like Malik said, keeps the trade value up.
Trade value, exactly. That is the key out of that game.
And he's an expiring contract now. Once the season's over and we get to the offseason, he only has 1 year left. So he's actually going to be a contract that teams go after if they want to be a player in free agency in 2020. So he could actually be a realistic trade piece this summer, which I think is something they could use to accelerate. They're going to be a middle of the pack team anyways. So
honestly, I hope he ends up on a winning team, because if he has real motivation to play like he did in OKC again, he could shine as a backup point guard. He just putting this much trust in him as a starter, it won't work. It just doesn't work. He's a guy that comes off the bench and gives you a spark, and he's shown he can definitely do that.
So let's jump into the other NBA playoff games that were actually exciting. Let's start out west. I can't remember. Yeah, I think we were on the air after the Clippers beat Golden State, correct?
Yeah.
So Golden State won the next two. Golden State whooped them by almost 30 in Game 3. Clippers had a chance to win Game 4, could not keep it together. If they won that game, if it's 2-2 headed back to Golden State, do you think the Clippers just have that slight chance?
No. You can't doubt the Warriors. It's just one of those teams, where it's like, do you take the Warriors or do you take the field? Most of the time, you're still going to take the Warriors. And even if they're in like a troublesome position, even if they lost a second game and they're tied, they're still, like you said, they're going back to Golden State, which it is so hard for people to play there. And I think they would have figured it out at some point. I mean, we've seen each one of those guys, Steph, Clay, Kevin Durant, all have big games in this series. And if one of them, typically, if Steph or Clay go off, that's when they're most likely to have a big game as a team.
What have you seen from this series so far, Malik?
I think with LeBron out of these playoffs, Kevin Durant is the best player in basketball, and I said with him out of the playoffs. LeBron isn't in basketball right now.
I know what you said.
Yeah.
Chris is going to argue Giannis or James Harden.
Giannis.
Kevin Durant.
Giannis was hitting threes last night.
He
had 2 threes.
He shot like 20% three for the series.
I know.
But he's showing in this series. He starts off, he's wild. He just gets a tech and gets kicked out of the game. When he wants to dominate, nobody on the planet can stop him. He's too smart of a player to take a high volume of shots. So he's going to move the ball around. He's going to be smart. But when he wants to take over, he can. There's nothing you can do with Kevin Durant right now. Whether his mind is in Golden State completely or not, when he wants to take over, he will. He clearly loved playing with Steph and Clay and a lot of those guys, except for Draymond. I think we all know that by now. But I think Kevin Durant, it's not close with him and Giannis right now to me. He is the best player in these playoffs. And if he keeps this up, I don't see how the Warriors will not win the championship.
Yeah.
He's just on a different level.
I just think that the scariest part, too, is that we've seen in the finals, like last year and things, Durant can also be an elite defender when he wants to.
Exactly.
And that's always a scary thing is when he decides that he wants to play both sides of the ball, he for sure is the best. I'm going to agree with Malik. I think he's the best player in this playoff series. I think he's, even in regular season and stuff, I think he's right there with LeBron at this point. I mean, part of it, obviously, LeBron is falling off. He's getting older. But I think Kevin Durant is right there being able to possibly take over as the best player in basketball.
So the Warriors lead 3-1 in that series. Game 5 is in Golden State at Oracle tomorrow night on TNT. You can catch that one. More than likely, Golden State going to finish that one off with a gentleman's sweep. Moving on out west, the 4-5 matchup, which has been really good the last 2 games, Houston and Utah. Game 3, the Rockets somehow got away 104-101. Utah was up for most of that game. And then Game 4, Utah demolished them. Donovan Mitchell should have been Piston, dropped 31 and led the Jazz to a 16-point win. Why isn't Donovan Mitchell a Piston?
Stop bringing this up. It makes it worse. Don't make it worse.
It's so easy.
The same reason that Devin Booker isn't a Piston?
No, it's not.
Carmelo Anthony
that's
isn't
false.
a Piston?
That's false. No. That is actually false. Donovan was way closer to being a Piston than either of those two.
Just by pick.
No. By what the team wanted at that. Like, Donovan was on the board for the Pistons, had a great workout, and it was 1A, Luke Kennard, 1B, Donovan Mitchell. Stan chose Luke over Donovan.
Well, because you just said it was 1A and 1B, and they had Donovan at 1B. So they took 1A.
Also, I don't think you can go back to the Carmelo thing because that team.
I'm just saying, like, people like to bring it up.
That team didn't need a rookie to produce, and Larry Brown has never really done anything.
I still think
rookies.
that was the best move for the Pistons. because I think it led to a lot of things that turned into a championship team. But that's a long discussion that we can have sometime in the summer if you guys want. I'm willing to talk about it. But I don't know. You can't dwell on it. The Pistons have been pretty terrible at drafting.
Shout out Spencer Dinwiddie, who should be a Piston too still.
Chris Middleton, who just beat us. So, yeah.
It's a nice, long list.
You know, it's nice to see some Pistons in these playoffs. We got Tobias and, you know.
Tobias has struggled, actually. He had
Yeah.
he had a good game 3, I believe, but other than that, he's been struggling. But yeah, Rockets lead 3-1. Game 5 is tomorrow night in Houston. Could the Jazz fend them off one more time?
I think they could.
The last
but
2 games have been close. I mean, they were close in Game 3. Game 4, they separated themselves in the second half.
I think if this game was at Utah, they would be able to maybe sneak another one. But I think they'll be focused at home, and I think they'll close it out.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, unless Donovan Mitchell has another big 30-point game, I think the Rockets should close it out. They're looking pretty good. They're looking back to how they were last year in the playoffs, I think.
Out west still, the 3-6 matchup, Portland, OKC. I'm shocked by this one, actually. I really thought OKC had it this year. I thought Paul George was having the best season of his career, potentially. And Russell was playing well, under control, better than he has been. They've had depth. They had no major injuries that would impact this team. I think Portland's just on a mission. Damian Lillard has had enough of this Russell Westbrook trash talking. And this has been such a fun series to watch all playoffs, regardless if the games are close. Just the in-game matchups. Steven Adams and Enes Kanter, CJ McCollum and Paul George, Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook. It's been so fun to watch. It's a shame that it's 3-1 right now. Could OKC win in Portland in Game 5? I think they could. I still have hope that this can go 7.
They obviously have the talent for it. But like you said, I think Portland is just kind of on a mission. I thought this series would have been closer. And I think I ended up giving the edge to OKC just because of the way Paul George has been playing. But Russell Westbrook has looked shaky in this series. And I mean, not that Paul George has looked all that much better at times, but it just seems like, I don't know if it's Damian's actually in his head or not, but it just seems like Russ is being a little bit too dramatic in this series, and it might be hurting his team.
I think Russ is in his own head, and I think he is his worst enemy, because Damian Lillard isn't competing with Russell Westbrook. Damian Lillard is playing to win the game and making sure his team gets good shots, making sure CJ gets off when he needs to, because that's the best way to win. Russell Westbrook is trying to prove that he's the better point guard than Damian Lillard. And when Damian Lillard starts hitting threes, Russ says, "Oh, you're hitting threes, I'm going to start hitting them." And then he doesn't hit them because he's not a good shooter. So it's his mentality and the way he plays. I've said before, I don't think it really leads to winning. Russell Westbrook needs a very, very, very specific team put around him to win. And it's basically just like all shooters. It literally has to be Russell Westbrook getting to the lane and then throwing it out to snipers. And I don't know how you make that type of team around him. Paul George had a great regular season, but in his career, he's never proved that in the playoffs he's that guy. He still has to get to that level to where in the playoffs he becomes a killer that you fear. He's still a really good 3-point shooter and plays good defense, but yeah, outside of them two, what reliable shooters do you have? Dennis Schroeder hits threes, but he isn't the stereotype shooter. Jeremy Grant is a better shooter than he was, but he's Jeremy Grant. You're not supposed to
and he's still
depend
working
on
on
him.
his shot too.
Exactly.
Terrence Ferguson, he's a second-year guy, right?
He's not a good NBA
They
player.
have a billion.
He's not a good NBA player. He shouldn't be starting.
They have a ton of role players. That's basically what their team is comprised of.
And not role players that fit with the way Russell Westbrook plays. Which at this point, I don't know how OKC could fit a good team around him, because there are so many teams that are rising and so many teams that are already at the top and threatening to win championships. How do you form a team that could really take the next step? And how does Russell Westbrook get back to where he was shooting wise? I really don't understand. His MVP season, he shot 85% from the free throw line. Right now, he's at 65.
Russ shot
How does that
5.
happen?
He shot 5 for 21 from the floor in their last game. 2 for 7 from 3. 23% from the floor, 28% from deep, and 50% from the free throw line. You're not going to win many games when your star player is doing that.
Why are you competing with the other point guard instead of just trying to win? That's the question.
It's your brand, I guess.
I've been saying it for a long time.
What have you been saying, Joe?
Overrated.
Still a great player. 3 straight seasons of triple doubles is incredible, but playing that way, playing full speed, playing like that you can't win like that
Unless you're Derrick Rose.
Well,
Derrick was different.
I'm just saying.
Derrick
played the same similar style.
Derrick changed speeds. Derrick was smooth. He was crafty around the rim. He was more skilled.
Skilled,
Russell
less
Westbrook.
thunderous.
Yep.
Less thunderous. Pun intended, I guess. That deserves a boo.
No.
Anyway.
Game 5,
Portland
though.
wins this one.
You think they win in 5?
Yeah.
You think it's over?
Portland, they have shot makers. They have consistent shot makers. They have guys that play hard at all times. Seth Curry is hitting shots. Rodney Hood is. They have it going right now, and I don't see. Oklahoma City has to outshoot them to win a game, and at this point, especially with them in Portland, I don't see how they'll have the confidence to really do it. Plus, they're not getting much out of Steven Adams, which is also a really something they have to look into in this offseason.
Joe, is Portland finishing the series off tomorrow night?
Unless Paul George has a big game.
I think even if Paul George has a big game, I don't think it'll make a difference.
If Paul George has a big game and the Thunder don't start off well, I think then they'll struggle. But yeah, I think Portland should close it out.
And then the last, go ahead.
Russ is going to take a lot of shots.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. He might take 30 to 35 shots tomorrow night to try to try to keep proving points to people instead of just trying to win.
Yeah. Moving on. Last series out west, Spurs Nuggets. We kind of talked about it going into the playoffs. This is going to be a series that we expect to go 7 games. And it's kind of stayed to that form. They've had some closer games for the most part, games 1, 2, and 3. Denver pulled away in game 4. It's tied 2-2. Heading back to Denver. Games tonight. It's on NBA TV. How do you guys see this series shaking out?
I think the Spurs last game, I think the Nuggets, I think they took a big step forward, and I think they have an edge in this series, not only because they're going home, but because they figured out a way to take Nikola Jokic to another level. They don't let him be aggressive a lot. And when I say that, I mean he doesn't take over 15, he doesn't take over 20 shots ever. He never has a high volume of shots. He plays within his game. He's a great passer, probably the best passer as a big man in the league right now.
Oh, yeah.
He's very skilled, but he takes shots when he needs to and when he gets hot and when he has open shots. But last game, they gave him the ball and they told him to just go for shots, use your skill, and try to take over. And he really took advantage of that, and he had a big game.
You think Denver finishes this one off in 6?
I think it still goes 7, but I think unlocking Nikola Jokic to this level, I think it's something that could push the Nuggets to the next series, and they could become a better team throughout these playoffs.
Joey?
Because he's playing like this, and he could get even better being this type of offensive player.
Yeah.
And Torrey Craig, I haven't paid much attention to him at all this season or the past season, but he's shooting the lights out.
He's been shooting the lights out all year.
Jamal Murray has been really good. If those guys keep stepping up and hitting shots like that, they should be able to win the series. I still think it goes 7, but they have a lot of things going for them right now. And I think it'll be hard for Popovich to stop how good they're playing right now.
Joe?
Yeah, I think the Nuggets kind of have all the momentum right now. And Jamal Murray is starting to have some good games. I think he's a key factor for the Nuggets. And I just think the Nuggets just have too much depth. Like, they're not playing Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, he's been hurt and, all that stuff, but he has experience. So you would kind of expect that maybe he would have played, but they announced pretty early on that he wasn't going to be a part of this rotation. And that just shows you like how good they've developed some of their players, and some of these guys like Malik Beasley and
Torrey
Monte
Craig.
Morris, like you said, Torrey Craig, all these guys. And it just, they have so many different weapons that they can go with. And I think that's kind of a key factor, that they can score from so many different ways. And having a guy like Jokic in the paint to be able to alleviate a lot of pressure for those guys who are shooting well from the outside, it just gives you that kind of mold of the inside-outside game that you want to see in the NBA these days. And I think that they should be in the clear at this point, now that they kind of got the monkey off their back.
See, I disagree with you guys. I think the Spurs are going to take this one. I think it's Pop's last hurrah.
I know you
Big
keep
upset.
saying that.
You're
but
still
big
going on.
upset.
You're still going on this limb that he's done
I
after
think
this
so.
season.
Yeah, I think he's done. I think that's going to be the big story of the summer. All right, we're going to go out east. We're not going to talk Bucks Pistons. We've already talked enough about that. Maybe the biggest shocker of the playoffs so far. I cannot believe the Celtics swept the Pacers. Yes, they didn't have Victor Oladipo, but the Pacers were still solid. And there's so much infighting and chemistry issues in Boston. I thought this series would go long, and I picked the Pacers. But I did not see a sweep whatsoever. Did that shock you guys?
I figured that Boston would figure it out at some point.
But
in
did
the
you think they would
playoffs.
sweep
But
Indiana
yeah,
going in?
I didn't see a sweep. I thought Indiana would get one, maybe. I thought without Oladipo, they didn't have many consistent offensive options. So I knew they wouldn't really just throw punches at the Celtics and really put pressure on them. But they definitely did. They put a little bit of pressure on the Celtics early in the series because Boston is still figuring things out somewhat, but they're getting into a groove now. Jason Tatum is looking like he's going to play the same kind of basketball he played in the playoffs last season. Kyrie Irving is Kyrie Irving. We know what he's going to do. The biggest thing is Gordon Hayward is looking good again. And if he can get back onto this consistently and be a six-man that comes off and gives them 15, 16 points maybe, that'll be huge for the Celtics. And I trust Brad Stevens. I believe their chemistry will continue to build throughout the playoffs, and it was a great sweep for them. That series should build a lot of confidence, and yeah, there's a lot of team morale right now.
Joey, did you think Boston coming into the playoffs was primed to be upset by the Pacers?
No, but I thought the Pacers had a chance just because the way they had been playing, even without Oladipo. Like you said, the Celtics have been struggling a little bit at times. But I kind of had a feeling that the Celtics would eventually figure it out just because they're the better team. Excuse me. They're the better team. And I didn't think that they would sweep them. I thought that the Pacers would maybe get one or two games, be real competitive. And the games were pretty close overall. But yeah, I think the Celtics kind of got back to how they were perceived at the beginning of the season. Gordon Hayward's figured it out, I think, found his role in this team, and that's kind of a scary thing for other teams out east. So the Celtics are now, again, one of those teams that you got to watch out for, like people said at the beginning of the season.
So we know the matchup. That's the only matchup we know so far in the conference semifinals. Bucks Celtics. Let's do a little preview of that. Do you think the Celtics can upset Milwaukee? I don't think. I think the Bucks win this in 5.
You realize there are tons of people confidently picking the Celtics right now.
Unfortunately,
Really?
they clearly didn't watch Milwaukee all year. 60-win team, coach of the year, MVP.
Really good team, yeah.
Really good team. They're setting records, Malik.
Really good team.
And if you tell me you're picking the Celtics, I'm willing to make a bet on this show.
The Celtics are one of the deeper teams in the East, and
I will make a bet with both of you guys.
they've been underperforming all season long.
Pick the Celtics, please.
I'm just saying.
Pick the Celtics,
I
Joe.
don't know if I would pick the Celtics, but I'm saying don't underestimate the Celtics.
What they did in the season and what the Bucks did in the season does not matter right
They
now.
now have more experience than the Bucks as well, and that's something to think about.
Either of you guys want to take the Celtics against me?
I think Malik does.
You want to take the Celtics,
I
Malik?
honestly, I still don't know who I'm going to pick in this series. I have no, this is going to be this is This is one of the best series of an East matchup in a while. And
It'll be fun to watch. It's going to be a really fun
The
one
Bucks
to watch.
aren't just going to walk over them.
This could be just like the Western Conference, where we could see the best matchups in the semifinals. The Bucks versus Celtics and the Rockets or Warriors could possibly be.
And you, Chris, you have to understand, people are picking the Celtics because matchups wise, the Celtics have some really good matchups in this series.
I think the Bucks have some
starting
really good matchups,
five and off the bench.
I think the Bucks match up better against the Celtics, though.
I kind of agree with you. I think people are underestimating the Bucks matchups against the Celtics because a lot of the players that produce for the Celtics are in that guard forward area, and Giannis can guard anybody. And so most likely he's going to be guarding like Jason Tatum, even Gordon Hayward maybe, Jaylen Brown if he's having a good game. They can put him on any of those guys. Kyrie Irving is another one of those scenarios. You let Kyrie do what he's going to do. Eric Bledsoe will probably play him tough, but if you stop that second guy that the Celtics need, then I think the Bucks are okay.
They have no dominant big man. The Celtics do. And that's the only type of player that Giannis can't guard. They can put Giannis out there with 4 shooters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes this team so impactful. They put him out there with 4 40% three-point shooters. No other team in the NBA can do that. And that's why I think the Bucks are primed to just maybe not roll past, but I think they can win this. I think they win this one in 5, maybe 6. I think Milwaukee is primed to get the NBA Finals. They just have the prototypical team to succeed in today's NBA.
Mirotic is getting healthy. Brogdon is getting healthy. Those are 2 key players for the Bucks that they haven't had. And the Celtics don't really have a real rim protector. And that's like the only way you can sort of stop Giannis. We even saw, I hate to say it because statistically, Andre Drummond is the best in the NBA at blocking dunks, apparently. He had like 21 blocked dunks on the season, which is the NBA best. I didn't know that going into it. But even that, we saw Giannis do somewhat of a Michael Jordan double clutch right to left.
That was insane.
Andre just kind of laughed like, what am I supposed to do? And the Celtics are definitely, I think, worse rim protectors. And that's a scary thought. And like Chris said, they have a lot of shooters, kind of somewhat more unknown guys, but that's what's going to happen when they play in Milwaukee. And I hope the series goes 7.
I do too. I hope it does. Who do you want to make a pick right now or no?
Bucks in 6.
Bucks in 6.
I think Brook Lopez is actually a pretty big factor.
I'll say Bucks in 5. The other 2 matchups, Philly and Brooklyn. Philly-Brooklyn has been a really good series. Both teams do not like each other currently, and that makes it so much more fun.
Jared Dudley.
Nets probably should have won game. I shouldn't say should have, but they had a really good chance of winning game 4. They blew it. Philly's up 3-1. Really should be 2-2. Game is tonight on TNT at 8 o'clock. Does Brooklyn pull out this upset tonight?
I hope so.
This game.
I hope so. I want the series to keep going. I do like the matchup. Karis LeVert has looked really good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a fun series. I don't think that the Nets are actually going to win though. Again, it's one of those things. Like the Sixers just have too much depth, and if Embiid is healthy, like he's hard to stop. He's a good player.
He's not healthy though.
Right, but I mean, if he's healthy enough, that's all it needs.
Malik.
Sixers close it out. I think Brooklyn makes it tough. I think Philly only wins by like 2 or 3, but they win it.
And then we got to talk about Malik's favorite. Malik, your Orlando Magic are down 3-1 in the series. They play tonight, too. They're the 7 o'clock game on NBA TV.
Orlando's done.
They're done.
Man,
Listen,
they should have won.
The way Kawhi is playing right now, he's destroying Orlando. It's ridiculous.
Wasn't it game 3 that they kind of blew it?
Yeah.
Game 3, they had a chance. And I think that's what
they
really
couldn't stop Kawhi.
That game was the tilt.
Yep. Turning point.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to do anything.
Also, Pascal Siakam is better than Kyle Lowry, which is hilarious. That might be the funniest part of all this entire
Pascal
playoffs.
Siakam has been one of the best players on that team.
He's been playing basketball for like 6 years. He shouldn't be this good. I'm jealous. I'm incredibly jealous of
Reggie
Pascal
Jackson
Siakam.
has had a better playoff than Kyle Lowry.
I think most people have better. Us three might have better playoff series. Than
I could have
Kyle
scored a
Lowry.
point. I'm telling you.
Oh, Joe, stop.
I could have scored a point.
Yeah, if you get fouled, you can make a free throw. I agree with
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. 3 in the corner.
Kyle had a good game too. He had like 24.
All right. That's enough NBA
It's
talk
over.
for right now. Let's break down. We'll do a little NFL mock draft type scenario. I want to give us enough time on that. The draft is this Thursday. Where is it being held, Joe?
I don't know.
Is it Chicago? Malik?
Let me look it up because I forgot. I forgot.
I mean, we're not that into where it's at. I don't really care.
I need to know where it's at.
I just need to make sure that the Lions do the correct thing
In
on draft
Detroit,
night.
Michigan.
That would be hilarious.
It's in Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
So I'm going to go back and forth with you guys. Joey, I'll give you the honor of getting the number 1 pick. And just tell me not who you would select, but who you think will be picked and why.
Before that, can we agree that the first 3 picks we're gonna agree on the first 3? Those are locks, pretty much.
Well, let's go through it to break it down.
You
You
got Quinnen. You got Quinnen for 3.
All right, guys.
That's not a lock.
All right, so let's.
I don't know who your third lock is then.
All right, number 1 pick, Joe.
Kyler.
Why?
Everything that people have been saying is that the Cardinals are pretty much set in stone on him, and it's only like increasing Josh Rosen's trade value. I'm pretty sure they're set on him at this point. So I can't see them going any other way at this point. And if they did go with like Nick Bosa, it would throw the whole draft off. It'd be crazy.
And
So I
that's what
kind of
you
want
wanna
to see.
see.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
All right, Malik. Kyler Murray's off the board. 49ers on the clock. Who are they taking?
Nick Bosa. I mean, I feel like this is exactly what they want. They have so many good young pieces on that defense. They just want to keep shoring up that line, and those pieces. Hopefully, Jimmy Garoppolo bounces back very quickly from that injury, and they just keep moving. Hopefully, they'll start making the playoffs and start contending in a year or two. But yeah, Nick Bosa with DeForest Buckner and those dudes on the defense. This is just another good piece to what they've already started to build.
Joey, I'm so happy that you will be making the prediction for my New York Jets. Tell me, who are my Jets taking at 3?
They could take just about anybody to help them out.
There's one player that's been predicted to go to the Jets this entire time.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen it in every single mock draft.
I've seen every mock draft be different, basically.
I've seen Josh Allen in every single mock draft.
Really? I've seen him
almost every single
I've seen
one.
him go anywhere. He's the one that I see the most movement from, actually, from when I've looked around.
There's so many talk of movement from so many players. I don't believe any of it. I think he's a cemented 3. But Quinnen Williams might be the best defensive player in this draft.
If you look at my
He might
sheet,
be.
though,
That's why
I do have them intertwined. So
Yeah.
it could go either way. I ended up going with Quinnen Williams just because I feel like potentially the defensive tackle could have a little more impact. Maybe I'm wrong there. I don't know. But I just feel like that's what they go with. I feel like that starts your defensive line, gets you going. It's good to build off of. So I would go with Quinnen Williams.
Do you agree with that, Malik?
Quinnen Williams, I think he's the best defensive player in this draft. He's since Aaron Donald, he's almost a flawless defensive tackle prospect. Double team, one person, any technique, he can dominate any way you want him to.
And that's where I think too that Aaron Donald has changed how people look at defensive tackles.
Exactly.
So
Number 4. Oakland Raiders on the clock, Malik.
if Quinnen Williams left now,
This is where
for
John,
sure.
everybody's starting to say they're going to make a surprise pick and do something stupid. I think John Gruden is going to try to apologize to the fans and say, "Hey, we traded Khalil Mack,
I think you have too much faith in him.
but we got Josh Allen. This kid's his athleticism is through the roof.
But why do you
He
trade?
has the fastest jump off of the line. He has several moves from the outside linebacker / defensive end mixed up position they have in the NFL now, which is pretty much what Khalil Mack played. They're going to try to slide Josh Allen in that position and see if he works out. You had a question?
I was gonna say, why do they trade Khalil Mack just to draft his replacement?
That's not what they were doing, but that's
what's gonna do. That's what's gonna happen.
That's what
But
they're gonna try to make it look like.
But if you think about that,
but
like,
they need defense. They need defensive line rush.
If
with
they
Khalil Mack
traded
gone.
Khalil Mack to get a replacement for Khalil Mack that they think is similar to him, but they're also getting more draft picks from it, wouldn't that be technically a good trade?
True.
Just throwing it out.
And with him going at 4, I don't think he's going to come out the gates as fast as Khalil Mack did. He's still kind of raw. He doesn't have the build Khalil Mack had. He's kind of slender, but he's fast around the corner. He has several moves. He's very strong for his size. Raiders will probably draft him.
One thing I would look out for is that Ed Oliver has risen up on draft boards, and there's been some people that think that the Raiders could take him. I don't know if I agree with it, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Number 5. Oh my gosh.
Number 5.
It's been a long day, guys. Number 5. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, I think if Josh Allen is gone, which most likely he is, like I said, there's some weird mock drafts that said he might fall potentially. I don't see it either. But then you got to go with the next best linebacker, Devin White.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Malik,
I think that's where the Bucs go.
Do you think the Bucs would do that as well?
I think they could take Greedy Williams.
That's
to
what I'm saying.
become a ball hawk in that secondary.
Yeah, I think Greedy Williams is actually a big X factor in this draft because he's another one of those players that people have talked about, but nobody's really talked it into fruition.
Nobody's getting too excited about it.
Right, like even
but everybody knows the type of talent he has.
Right, and that would shake up the rest of the draft board, I think, as well. So that would be pretty interesting, I think. But I think with this draft, I don't know if there's really, at least in like the top 10, too many like wrong picks necessarily as far as prospects go.
This entire first round, this is one of the deepest defensive linebacker. First round wise, there's going to be a lot of teams that come away with good players and successful picks because that's how talented defensively this first round is.
Which is why
and second and third, honestly.
Which is why you might see some people kind of take a risk and go for like a Greedy Williams or something.
New York Giants, Malik. Who are they taking?
Do they take a quarterback?
Do they go?
Listen, the New York Giants
the Buckeye way
are really looking. They look like they might do something so ridiculous and not draft Dwayne Haskins. And they
what?
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they didn't draft Dwayne Haskins and just kept trying to push to people. Eli Manning is our guy. We need you to trust him. And the people don't have much reason to trust Eli Manning at this point. I am so afraid that they won't draft Dwayne Haskins. But at the end of the day, I think Dwayne Haskins.
Sounds like you're torn here, Malik.
I am.
Who are you torn between?
Wayne
and who?
I would, if they don't take Dwayne Haskins, I think it might be a surprise pick. That's the thing. There's so many defensive options. They have so many different options from Clelin Ferrell from Clemson. You got Ed Oliver from Houston. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody still took a swing on Montez Sweat. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm gonna say Dwayne Haskins because that's the logical thing, but I don't know, man. I don't know. The Giants, they're scaring me.
So you're saying Dwayne Haskins right now?
The Giants are scaring me.
I think they take Ed Oliver. I've heard a lot of the things from the Giants saying that they're going to take the best player available.
And who's Ed Oliver?
And
Joe?
I don't think that they necessarily think that Dwayne Haskins is the best available player at the time because of this draft being so deep. I just don't see it. I think, and maybe this would be smart for the Giants, is they take the best player available because then next year, quarterback draft is pretty good. There's some good quarterbacks that'll be in next year's draft. And I know people want the Giants to take a quarterback right now, but I don't know if a quarterback is going to completely change their team. Like, they just lost Odell Beckham Jr., their best receiver. I don't think if a quarterback is going to turn this team around anytime soon.
Dwayne wouldn't start from the beginning.
Right. I know.
He'd have a year or
But
2 to sit behind Eli.
I just feel like you might as well just keep getting pieces. And I don't necessarily see them taking a quarterback. I think they're going to be kind of stingy, and it's going to be funny.
The Giants are going to play around with some teams. They're going to be annoying. I think they're going to annoy a lot of teams, including Giants fans.
Malik, give me the pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then I'm going to have both you guys make a selection for the Lions.
The Jacksonville Jaguars with this pick, honestly, it's a 1A, 1B to me. Whether they take Jawan Taylor from Florida or Jonah Williams from Alabama, they need.
Who would you pick in this situation?
I might take Jawan Taylor. I think he could start immediately. They need to shore up that O-line for Nick Foles, because if he has even an average O-line, it could get scary very fast. He needs an O-line that will hold up, so he has time to look around and throw those bombs that Jacksonville Jaguars fans are expecting from him. He needs that help.
Now, I've heard a little bit of these. I think they will take an offensive line, like you said, either Jonah Williams or Juwan. But I have heard a couple of people talking about maybe they take T.J. Hawkinson just to give Nick Foles a weapon. I really hope they do, so that the Lions don't take him. So secretly, that's what I want. But that's just another option I'll throw out there.
All right, Joe. Give me your selection for the Detroit Lions at number 8 in the 2019 NFL Draft.
I hope we agree on this.
Man, this is tough. I was talking to Malik beforehand. Originally, I wanted Montez Sweat here. Now, recently, in the past couple of days, I don't know if you guys have heard, he announced that he's not going to go to the NFL Draft. He's going to sit at home with his family in Georgia. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. Anyway, he's going to be at home with his family for this draft, and he's announced that he has a heart condition. And so he's starting to fall down the draft boards just because of the uncertainty about the condition. I don't know if there's a lot of details on it either, but some teams are a little bit concerned. So he could end up being a steal for some teams, and I don't think the Lions would take the risk on it. So I'm really scared that they're going to take T.J. Hawkinson. But I want them...
This is not who you want them to take. This is who do you think the Lions select.
Okay. It all kind of depends.
I'm not sure if they select T.J. Hawkinson. I think that's the popular thing right now, that they take T.J. Hawkinson, but I don't know if that's...
The hardest thing is to, this draft is going to be weird. Like I said, these are all super, super good defensive players. So who knows? People are starting to talk Rashawn Gary might get in ahead of these guys. He might be somewhere from 5 to 7.
If he's there for the Lions, they might take him.
Right. And so that shakes a lot of things up. I think if the Jaguars take Hawkinson and nobody's really fallen, the Lions might look to trade down. They've talked about it. They're not ruling it out. So if something happens where they don't like the look of the draft board at the time, they might. I still hope they don't, because I feel like Malik said, this is a deep draft. I think there's talent somewhere that they can take. I have no idea who they're going to go for.
You got to pick someone. You can't do a mock draft and then just say, I don't know who the Lions pick. No, you got to make a selection.
Okay.
It's hard to say who do you think the Lions would take instead of if we were in the organization, who would we take? Because sure enough, the defense would make sense. But do the Lions want T.J. Hawkinson?
If we're going off of our draft board, how we have it, I think they take T.J. Hawkinson.
That sucks. That's terrible.
Yeah, I don't want it, but that's just my feeling
right now.
Because they're really set on I know they are really high on Josh Allen and Devin White and stuff. I don't expect those guys to fall.
Malik, Lions on the clock. Who are they selecting?
Because of who the Lions coach is right now and his experiences with Rob Gronkowski, he's trying to rebuild the Patriots 2.0, and he's gonna try to make T.J. Hawkinson his Gronk.
Now, if they run a double tight end set with Jesse James, I'd be okay with that. Are they gonna completely change their offense? I don't know, but I would. If they're gonna take T.J. Hawkinson, I want to see some double tight end sets out of the Lions this year.
I don't want it.
I don't either. But
I don't want it.
The more that people keep talking about it, the more I keep thinking it might happen.
Exactly. Honestly, if not him, I think they'd take Rashawn Gary. If Rashawn is still on the board, I think they'd take him, which I wouldn't be mad with either.
But I think too, like
I'd be okay with that.
Like we said, if Rashawn Gary gets taken, then one of these guys is going to fall to the Lions, which could be Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
Which
Rashawn Gary could also go like 4 to like you said, like 4 to 7.
Right. So if like somebody like Ed Oliver fell, maybe there's a chance Devin White would fall. I'd be okay with that. I just want a defensive player. That's all I ask.
Understood. And we will find out on Thursday. Bold predictions for the Lions during the entire draft? Anything? Nothing?
The Lions don't ever do any.
I was going to say, I don't know if there's going to be a bold.
Usually when they do things to stick out, they do dumb things. Recently, they've made conservative picks the past few years. They really haven't done anything to stick out. They've made extremely conservative picks, which it would be better for them to make a good, splashy pick if they took what if they took a quarterback in the third? Like, what if they ended up like drafting Will?
Or what if they drafted wide receiver too?
Exactly. Like, what if they took Will Greer in like the third round? Like that would make a splash, and it'd be interesting for the Lions or something.
Any other predictions for the draft in general?
I think Josh Rosen does get traded
on draft night.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
But to who? I don't know.
Detroit.
I think he does get drafted. I think he could get drafted to a team with a veteran quarterback, so he can be the successor, like Chargers or Patriots.
I'm curious of who wants to shift. I know the Dolphins are a team that are looking to trade up.
Yeah.
So I'm curious of like what teams will try to get in to maybe take like a Dwayne Haskins or something like that. So that could be really interesting. I wouldn't mind that if the Lions traded down just a little bit. That might be acceptable to maybe get a little bit more out of it. I'm not really sure. I'm pretty excited for this draft actually though. Like it's an interesting draft and it's a pretty big one for the Lions, I think.
There are going to be some surprises in the first round.
Why do you think this one's a big one compared to years past?
Because it's a kind of a shift in the team with Patricia and stuff, and the off season that they've had so far has been pretty good, as we've talked about.
Exactly. They could cap it off very successfully.
Right.
If they do it right.
We don't want to make a lot of assumptions with this team, obviously, but so far on paper, it's looked good. So if they could make a good, solid draft, I think they're headed in the right direction. And like we said, that gives, I think this for sure is the definitive year for Stafford. Because like we said, next year has a good quarterback class. And even if they take a quarterback this year, it puts pressure on them. So I think it's an important draft for the Lions.
There you have it. Joey and Malik think the Lions are drafting a tight end. What a bummer.
I hope not.
Eric Ebron 2.0.
Don't say that.
Oh, jeez.
Don't say that.
Ebron 2.0.
They are. You're just saying tight end, same.
Yeah.
That is that's horrible, simple math.
Hawkinson's
you
got.
can't just do that.
The scary
1 +
thing.
1 = 2 with me.
1 + 1 = fish right now.
The scary thing is
put on your analytical glasses.
The scariest thing though is that Hawkinson has like is like a better prospect than Ebron was.
Exactly. He is one of the most complete tight ends in years.
Yeah.
From catching and blocking standpoint.
Which is spooky that if he doesn't win. Anyway.
That if he what?
We'll see on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll find out on Thursday. We have like a minute or so left in the show. I want to touch base on you guys. We don't talk much hockey on the show here, but we do have to recognize
he's back
when big news happens. Steve Yzerman, he left Tampa Bay early in the season, and everybody was hinting, is he coming back to Detroit?
The rumblings were there.
The rumblings were there. It was kind of the best kept or the worst kept secret in the NHL that he was coming back, and they made it official April 19th, 2019, number 19, back in the organization. First impressions.
Cool. I like it. I mean, obviously it gets the fans excited. It's hard to say what he'll do. He did a good job in Tampa, so hopefully that can mean good things for the Red Wings. He knows how this team operates. He knows how the fans operate. Like we said, he's loved by everybody in this state. So it's just a nice thing to have for this team.
And they moved Ken Holland to an advisory role, just like they did with Joe Dumars when the Pistons moved on. So Ken, it was fun. He'll probably get another gig somewhere else. But
Right.
Malik, first impression?
He has experience in his role. He knows this franchise in and out. He's a staple of the franchise. He understands what needs to be done for that franchise to win again. It's all positivity right now. That's what they need. Just very great positive move.
Oh yeah, and it just creates a buzz for the team moving forward. That's really what it is. The Red Wings missed the playoffs. The biggest blunder on Ken Holland's resume, honestly, is probably when they kind of forced the playoff berth in 2017, denying prospects really from succeeding and playing their vets more. But that's all in the past. So we'll see how it all shakes out. That's about it for the show today. We got a lot to talk about. We talked a lot of NBA playoffs. Pistons season ended. We'll do a State of the Pistons next week. State of the Lions after the draft. Essentially, their off season comes to a close. We got a lot next week.
Suns fire another coach. I don't know if it's the coach anymore.
Whoa.
Bye.
See you guys next time.
My birthday is this Saturday, guys.
I hope you're not here.
I'm
Celebrating
coming back
next
in new
week.
age and Avengers Endgame. I'm ready to cry.